What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for yet another Tottenham update with Brian, Tottenham on tour. How are we doing today, Brian?
We are doing very, very good, mate. It's Spurs Day. It's Ange Day. It's time to be happy.
Yeah, it is time to be happy. And look, there's a real reason to be happy later on in this update, but we're going to start off talking about some potential outgoing transfers or some non-potential outgoing transfers as it may be. And we're going to start talking about Giovanni Lo Celso. Tom Barkley yesterday says that Tottenham have no interest in letting Barcelona target Giovanni Lo Celso go in the January window, and certainly not on loan. The Barca boss, Xavi, would like to sign Lo Celso after losing midfielder Gabi to a long-term injury. So it is only right, isn't it, to kind of block that move, because we're just so light on numbers in midfield, especially for the January month with the African Cup of Nations and the Asia Cup.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a hard one because obviously he's just shown that he can't stay fit, which is we don't know what the injury is or how he incurred it, but another player on the shelf. But yeah, without a replacement and the players leaving, it can't really happen, can it?
Yeah. In terms of the injury, I mean, Ange does say it's just a slight niggle, but we've been down this road with Lo Celso before, haven't we? Where it's just, he's only supposed to be out for one game, and then 3 months later he's still out.
Yeah, well, we've had it with Ollie Skip as well, haven't we? He's a week away from fitness, and 6 months passed by, and he'll be back next week. Let's hope it is just a niggle, because he was showing. Listen, I think we can all agree, or a majority can agree, that there's no doubt in his talent and his ability. The only doubt is his ability to stay fit, and that's a major concern. And we just hope this one isn't a long-term one, because we desperately need him.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Another player who we brought in the same transfer window as Giovanni Lo Celso is Tanguy Ndombele. And Daniel Levy will be absolutely licking his lips with this one, as a Turkish publication called Photosport says that Galatasaray have met a bonus fee clause in their loan agreement with Tottenham Hotspur for Tanguy Ndombele. Spurs will receive an additional fee after the club qualified for the Europa League last night following their Champions League exit. Obviously, that was a couple of nights ago now. But Spurs seeming to get another fee in there for Tanguy Ndombele.
So listen closely, people, because you're going to hear something you never really hear from me, and I get accused of not saying. Well done, Daniel Levy. You heard it. You can clip it. You can do whatever you want. One thing I've always said is this guy, when it comes to the deals of getting the most money for a player going out, this man is like unrivaled. He's unrivaled. I always say, if I ever get a divorce from my wife, I want Daniel Levy to handle my divorce. And it's for reasons like this that he does. I will give praise where it's due. And somehow, for getting extra money for a guy that's been vilified in Turkey, well done.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how that develops now, because we have heard reports over the last month Galatasaray want to send him back. It's just about, do we accept him back? I don't think we do. So it's kind of like Galatasaray are a bit in between a rock and a hard place at the moment with him. They don't want him. We don't want him. What happens with him?
I don't know. I'm just thinking now. We call it a clause that they got into Europa. I think it's them paying us to take him back. Here you go. Have some money. I just listen. If he is coming back, I don't think he can be anywhere near the training grounds. Not even listen as well. You look at it. They normally do this. They put people with the under 23s as a punishment. This would be a punishment to the under 23s who are flying and doing everything. He's had chance after chance after chance. It's like being at school when you misbehave. He needs to be expelled. Rip up the contract, do whatever. He can't be allowed to come back with this attitude, and he's proven it time and time again, hasn't he?
Yeah, he really has. And you make a good point about the under 23s. You just don't want that stink anywhere near, the good things that they are doing, the players that they got up and coming. You don't want any of them getting any of these kind of ideas, do you?
Not at all. Like we said, we're looking at youngsters coming in and integrating with the first team. And at the moment, this first team, the team morale, it looks better than we've ever seen it in recent history. Why, when we know this man can, like, literally, he's the kryptonite. He's the kryptonite that can literally, unfortunately, bad things happen around him, and it's his attitude and his lack of application. So I wouldn't even let him in the training ground.
Yeah, I totally agree, to be honest. Let's move on. A player that you hold close to your heart in Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, publication called La Stampa, saying that Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg wants to leave Tottenham next month rather than wait until the summer. However, Ange Postecoglou may block a potential move in January due to the recent injury of Rodrigo Bentancur. Again, similar to Giovanni Lo Celso, we just need the numbers in midfield in January with Bissouma and Pape Matar Sarr going. But if a player does want to leave, is it right to accept that request, or do you look at it like Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg is just a role model professional, and whatever happens, he'll always give 100%?
Well, when it comes to Pierre, I'm actually looking at it a different way. I'm looking at it from him, the player's perspective, and he sacked his agent, didn't he, at the end of the summer window because he didn't get his move away. There's no doubt in his professionalism and how valuable he's been for the football club with these injuries and coming onto the sub and closing games out and doing what he's been doing. But he's about to be, you think he's a shoo-in for Denmark. There's a Euros coming up. He wants regular first-team football. So we see it. A lot of players want this so they can make sure they get the minutes so they get chosen for selection. And Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg is a first-team player for a lot of teams. And he will attract a lot of interest. And it comes down to, like you said, I think Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg is one player that if he doesn't get his move, he will not chuck his toys out the pram. He just has not got that component in him. But you got to look at this from the player side now. If you know you're not going to be, he's gone from leadership team and first team regular to out of a leadership team and a bit part player, whilst trying to get into the Denmark. I'm sure he goes anyway, but I look at this more on the player side, and it makes sense, but only if we get replacements in. He can't go out and then we look for a replacement. That replacement needs to be in first.
Maybe it's a case of to wait until the end of the window. I know we kind of notoriously don't like to wait, but maybe it's a case of utilize him for the first few weeks of the winter. Well, to be fair, our first game in January, Premier League game, is the 14th. So I don't know how long we can actually wait. But if it does come to it, like, wait until the last few days of the window, and if he really wants to leave, grant that request.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it as well with Bissouma and Sarr, you would imagine that Sarr's going to go a lot further than Bissouma because of the standards of the teams in that tournament. So maybe Bissouma's back earlier than we think. We just naturally assume they could be out for a month. If Bissouma's coming back, then you've got the option. But I think a lot of it will hinge on how well they do in the AFCONs.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about a potential incoming. He goes by the name of Radu Dragusin, and a journalist called Vlad Roska, a Romanian journalist, is claiming that Radu Dragusin is very close to a move to Tottenham for 30 million euro transfer fee. It's a report that's just come out of the blue. I've never heard of this guy, but maybe he does have some sort of clout in Romania. He's a player that plays for Genoa at the moment, week in, week out. He's performing at a really high level, and he's also a player that came through the ranks at Juventus, and he fell by the wayside a bit at Juventus. And where have we heard that one before? With Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur. And I'm really positive about this because obviously Paratici would have known him a lot. Paratici is still in an advisory role. What's your thoughts on it?
So first of all, this is Danny Rose territory to me. I have not got a Scooby-Doo. What position does he play?
Centre back.
Well, there you go. There you go. Listen, I've said this window, I don't care if I know the players or not, or where they come from, or the value. Just get the players in and get them in quick. And if this guy's been earmarked, and let's face it, if Paratici knows this guy and says this is a guy, full on, get him in. Full on. Because that man isn't missing at the moment. So if this is what we see, let's just hope. I mean, the standards of the Romanian defenders we've had in the past, he hasn't got much to surpass Vlad Clearishes. So I'm fully confident over Baldini and Clearishes, over Paratici, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce this new guy's name. But if this is a deal that's going down the line, it's the area we all want strengthened first. And if Paratici is giving it the seal of approval, fine by me.
How would you say if I know this guy I'm about to mention is not a midfield, not a defender, but what would you say if he was at the same level of someone like Ili Dumitrescu?
Well, wait, now you give me Ili. I mean, I got Ili. I had Ili Dumitrescu's name on the back of a shirt, and the next day Jerry Francis sent him to Seville. So I don't really like talking about him. But I could say Popescu. Now, if he's anything like Gica Popescu, I'm very, very happy. If he's like Ilya Dimitrescu, then expect a load of stepovers from central defence.
And in terms of, let's take this report for face value. Yeah, let's try and say it's real, right?
Yep.
How positive is it for you that it looks as though we're trying to get our business done at the first few days of the window?
We were trying to get Porro done first few days of the window, and we all know how that worked. Listen, it's all brilliant that we're doing this stuff. And listen, if we get this, I've said, if we get players done over the line quick, I'll be the first one to say well done. Well done. I'll be the first one. It's all good talking. Let's see the actions of it. But if this is, like I said, taking it at face value as legit, it looks like it's quite a long way down the road, and let's just hope it materialises.
And finally, we're going to be talking about another centre-back in Mickey van der Ven, as Paul O'Keefe has given us an update yesterday. As you can see, it's a positive one with the reaction Brian Daigle has just given us. But Paul O'Keefe says, Tottenham Hotspur central defender Mickey van der Ven has stepped up his recovery efforts by doing individual work with the ball back on grass and could make his return as early as Burnley in the FA Cup on the 5th of January. Now, how positive is that news?
It's exceptional. It's exceptional. The one thing that concerns me with it, obviously, is with a man with his pace, where his pace is so vital in his game. The hamstring is a worry. So I don't want him rushed back just for.
Yeah.
But then the weirdest thing, I'm going to contradict myself, is I want to make sure we take this FA Cup goddamn seriously. It's our only chance of silverware. We know what happened with the Carabao Cup and the criticism, and Van der Ven was in that game, and the best player on the pitch. I would, if I had to choose, have him fit for this game and then have him recover for the rest and not play in the Premier League. Done. Him, I think he is absolutely vital for the way we play football with the high line, the press. He is absolutely pivotal to everything, and the sooner he's back, the better.
See, I agree and I disagree. I agree with you saying that we need to take the FA Cup with the utmost importance, 100%. It's our last chance of a trophy this season. However, I do feel like because we've got Burnley at home in the FA Cup, we should be able to beat them like convincingly with a Ben Davis and a Cristian Romero at centre back. So if there's any sort of hint or slither of doubt that he could like have a recurring injury of that Burnley game, I would not want to see him play at all. So I just want him to
What
be
about on the bench, Ben?
covered.
Would you have him on the bench for Burnley if he was able to? For
I have him
emergency
on the
purposes?
bench, maybe give him a couple of minutes at the end, but it's all depends on how fit he actually is at that moment in time. If he's completely fit and there's no sort of fear that he could have a recurrence of the injury, then yeah, 100% I'll play him. But if there's any sort of doubt, no chance. We just need him for the rest of the season. He's too much of an important player to risk.
I think the other way you've got to look at this as well, which will be intriguing, is obviously Burnley will have, whereas we want to take the FA Cup seriously and try and win it because of how dear the FA Cup and silverware we need to end this drought of trophies. Will Vincent Kompany be like, right, I need to focus everything on the Premier League? I'm going to rotate and rest a lot of players. It's one of those where it's going to be a game of poker before that lineup comes. But I want us to take the FA Cup very, very seriously. We were at Fulham, unfortunately, Ben, and we know when we saw that lineup, we're like, what's going on? If he does that at the FA Cup and it backfires, there could be pressure from all areas. Mickey van der Ven, my favourite player in the Spurs team next to Porro. I love Mickey. And I just want to see him back. We've seen we've seen how big of an impact he's had in the very few games he's had.
Yeah. And I'm going to actually finish off talking with some quotes on his centre-back partner, Cristian Romero. I've loved these quotes, so I thought I had to bring them up on the update. And he's talking about living life in London and playing for Spurs. And he says, I've been fortunate enough to live in a few different cities during my career, but nothing compares to London. It's a city with a brilliant story and, in my opinion, the world's capital. I love the people here, the diversity and the history. I think London will always be me and my family's home, even when my career has ended. The city will always hold a special place in my heart because my son, the most important person to me, was born here in London. We're very happy here to play for Tottenham Hotspur, one of the most important clubs in the game. has been incredible. I'm grateful to the club and its supporters for the trust they have shown in me, and I will always try and repay that on the field. We are delighted the club has appointed a coach like Ange Postecoglou. It has been hugely important for everyone at the club, especially with the young players. The club needed a coach with the same identity as its history. We have started well, but there is a long way to go. I am optimistic, of course, but it is a competitive league. As a professional, I want to win trophies and compete in the best competitions, but everything depends on our mentality. The club has a great atmosphere, and we are definitely getting closer to achieving our goals. If we continue to follow the right steps, things can only improve. And great quotes, isn't it, from Kuti?
Brilliant. I mean, they came out individually, didn't they? The first one, he was talking about the president and where the club is going, and he's right.
It's
And
all from the same interview.
yes, same interview, but I think where I saw them, they're released in two different snippets. But the first one where he spoke about, he calls the president, obviously, he's right, and he's done it in the right manner. He hasn't called anyone out. He hasn't said anything offensive. He said it as it is, and it's refreshing to see whether my stance is improved or changed with that at all. But the greatest thing to see is what he was saying about his family.
Mm.
I mean, we were hearing that if Conte was there, he was out of here like a shot, and other things. But to hear him talking so positively about London and how he sees it for his family as a long-term place of living, that could only benefit Spurs, because you can't see him joining the enemy, either one, west or north, or shall I say west or south, who pretend they're north. Hearing things like that, it's just wonderful, especially from someone from South America, where you see a lot of them, once their career's finished, they go back, which is understandable, but it's wonderful things to hear. Wonderful things to hear from the man.
Yeah, it really is. But that is your Tottenham update for today. I'll be on the watch along a bit later with Barnaby for the game against Nottingham Forest. You'll see Brian Dago on the post-match show. But Brian, tell people what's coming up on Tottenham on Tour.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow there'll be Ange management, hopefully with Johnny, but Johnny is ill at the moment, so he's going to have a late fitness test in the morning, so we'll find out, but it will still be going on. And we have our advent calendar every single day till the 24th, and Ben and Simeon have been incredible and given us a lot of time to be on it. So yeah, and Cockerel Doodle do every Monday to Friday.
Awesome. Well, everyone go over to Tottenham on Tour and hit that subscribe button. But thank you, Brian, for coming and joining me today. We'll see you all on the watch along a bit later. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.